Let's start off with a fairly simple chord progression. This is from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, the second movement. It appears to be in the key of E major, but the original key of the movement would be C major, so we're really going back to the right place, back to C major. The third chord is a German sixth chord, also known as an augmented sixth chord. That's why there is an F sharp on the top. It resolves exactly the way composers were taught to write it at that time. Now let's do the same thing in the key of A major. This time the German sixth chord is an F augmented six. The spelling is very logical and convenient, and we are now very close to Beethoven's key, which is A flat. Finally, let's do the same thing in the key of A flat major, Beethoven's actual key for this movement. This is now a bitone down from the first thing I played. Why does this version look so much more difficult to read? And why does something that looks so clear and so simple in one key look so complicated in another key? The answer is that our German sixth chord is now an F flat 7 chord, including an F flat, an A flat, and a C flat, and that's quite difficult to read. So now you see something that looks easy in one key can look very complicated in another key, even though it is exactly the same thing. And this problem is caused by our strange notation system. Now, if you have understood this much, you may want to stop here. Hopefully you learned something, and I don't want anyone to get confused. For those of you who are fearless, it's time to go down a really complicated rabbit hole to examine exactly what Beethoven did and why he did it. So let's consider Beethoven's notation. He starts his cello part on low E, but suddenly we have a totally crazy spelling for the German sixth chord. It is written E, A flat, C flat, and D. There is now a power interval written as a diminished 6, and I marked it in pink. In this very odd example, that strange letter interval does not seem to cause a problem. Why? It is because the first violin part ascends in tones and halftones. The bassline descends chromatically. Beethoven wanted to make all the parts as simple as possible for the players. Let's look at Franz Liszt's piano transcription. Unlike Beethoven's writing, this doesn't look good at all. In fact, it is very obvious to me that he struggled with how to notate this section. Singer is another person who transcribed Beethoven's Fifth Symphony for the piano. This section in his notation is also non-standard and ugly. I have also transcribed what Beethoven actually wrote on only 2 staves for hopefully easier reading. I made only one change. I switched the low E natural to an F flat. Now the F flat 7 chord replaces an E7 chord that had a totally bizarre spelling. I now have a traditional German 6 chord, also known as an augmented 6 chord. It expands outward to an A flat minor chord, exactly the way Bach would have written this himself if he had written something in this key. This kind of exploration is only possible with a program like Finale. No traditional composer in the past would try all these solutions because it would have taken forever. Each rewrite would be a pain. You never know what you will end up with until you try it. Writing alternatives by hand takes forever, but with Finale I can touch a couple of keys and flip everything. And that is the miracle of modern musical technology. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave comments about anything you like, comments about anything you would like to see in the future, and remember that I consider all suggestions.